Hello, everybody. So just looking to do a quick little overview of the Civil War and the multiple perspectives of different people during the Civil War. That's really the focus of this lesson. So just really quickly to start us off, we are looking at the Confederate States of America. We want to acknowledge the names and the leaders that founded this new country based off of the system of slavery. So we have Jefferson Davis is the elected president in 1861. He ran unopposed and was elected to a 6-year term. Alexander Stephens was his vice president, unanimously elected. And then the Confederate general who led the South's attempt at secession during the Civil War is Robert E. Lee. He is the one that will eventually surrender to Union General Ulysses S. Grant at the end of the war. Now, the first battle of the Civil War that really makes a difference that we look at is the Battle of Bull Run. This happens in July 1861. The engagement began when 35,000 Union troops marched to D.C. to strike the Confederate force. That was about 20,000 troops. After fighting defensively for most of the day, the Confederates were able to outflank the Union and sent the Union troops in a retreat towards Washington. Now, this was significant because it gave the Confederates a surge of confidence based around their victory, and it shocked many in the North who now realized that this was going to be a much longer battle than just a few-month skirmish, that this was going to take some time to defeat the Confederates. There are several great interactive maps linked on this slide here in your digital notebook. You can see this image showing the rate of casualties in the South. We're seeing most of the fighting happening in the South, as we mentioned in the previous lesson. That's where most of the battles will occur. But if you want to kind of look at a little more maps, if you really enjoy the maps, they're all linked on this slide here. Then we wanted to highlight the story of Private Albert Cashier. Private Albert Cashier was born Jenny Hodgers with a female sex assignment, and contemporaries identify Cashier as a transgender man because he lived as a man for the rest of his life after the Civil War and for a short period of time before the Civil War as well. So he served in the military as a man. Women who wanted to serve in the military would have to disguise himself as a man, but Private Cashier was different because he fully adopted a lifelong commitment to his male identity. A few years before Cashier passed away, he was discovered to have been assigned female at birth, and the military worked actively to remove his benefits. And the soldiers around him said that they disagreed because they felt that he had earned everything from the military service that he had done. He would be buried in full uniform, and his military rank and male name would be placed on his tombstone. So there's a lot of interesting links here about Private Albert Cashier, and then there's one about transgender people in the military today, if you want to kind of look at more of the modern connection from Albert Cashier. And then we did this tree map in class together based off of the 3 different perspectives: women, Native Americans, and enslaved people during the Civil War. We mentioned how more than 1,000 women would disguise themselves as men to go and fight in the Confederate and Union armies. During the Civil War, American women, they would take up the roles that the men had previously occupied at home in the home front, so running the farm, running the business, but they would also pick up in voluntary brigades. They would be laundresses, they would be nurses out in the field, they would be right alongside the battlefields, doing a lot of really important work at this time, not just sitting idly by. Native Americans, we had about 20,000 Native Americans serving on both sides of the Civil War, hoping that their service would end discrimination and relocation of their peoples as the United States expanded westward. Unfortunately, that would not happen. We have seen this in the French and Indian War as well as the American Revolution, where Native Americans have fought on both sides in order to preserve themselves and their culture and their way of life, and that has not benefited them. And then we have the role of enslaved people. We had over 100,000 formerly enslaved people fight for the Union. Over 500,000 fled plantations for Union lines, and the deal that was made was a political strategy by the North. Was if you come to the North and fight for the Union Army, you will be guaranteed your freedom, but also your family will be guaranteed their freedom as well. So really made it a non-option for many people to go and join in fighting in the Civil War. Taking that agency for themselves and fighting for their freedom, the freedom of their family, the freedom of their people. So when we're looking at the role of enslaved people, they play a huge role in the Union Army and the success that they had. So that's just a little overview on the multiple perspectives in the Civil War. And we will look at President Lincoln's role next.